everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. I'm your host, Matthew Coble, and today we'll be talking about cloud cost management, also known as cloud FinOps, with WWT expert Jenny Haladik. Jenny has been with Worldwide Technology since 2021 as chief advisor for our cloud practice, and she's focused on helping clients with their FinOps and cloud cost management journey across all of the various hyperscalers that are out there. She's got over 16 years of experience in IT across alliance management and helping clients to maximize the business value of all their technology investments. She's based in Denver, and I know coming into ski season for her, so this is a fun time of year for her to be out in the mountains outside of work. So Jenny, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Well, let's dive right in. So, we know at this point that, cloud from a cost standpoint doesn't always work out the way that organizations think out there, right? They're sort of assuming, we'll move to the cloud, we'll save some money, but that doesn't always work out. So I know that, you're helping clients with kind of cost management. Some people call it FinOps, or cloud FinOps, optimization. Tell us about kind of that current landscape of, what are people calling this and what are they looking at?
Yeah, so, cloud is critical to every business, but it's really driving a different consumption model than historically a lot of companies are used to. So, I think FinOps is really a practice from a cultural standpoint for an organization, to better understand where their cloud cost is, building out that visibility, and then, looking within the company across the various stakeholders that do touch cloud to continually make adjustments and changes within their cloud environment to drive cost optimization, additional savings, really making sure that they're always looking at, kind of what is the best practice to make sure that they're getting the most value out of their cloud investments today.
Okay, so most organizations are in the cloud, right? And they're having to think about this cost optimization and this sort of FinOps idea that you talked about. Do they have teams internally that are now focusing on that? Are they building that out? Are they looking for partners like us to help out with that? What's going on in the marketplace from that point of view?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that companies can, kind of approach this challenge of getting that better visibility into their cloud costs. So some are investing in building out teams today. Other companies, depending on the size, really would like another company like WWT to really help them manage that from a best practice standpoint. So, it's really all about what are you doing to drive some of those solutions for the challenges. So, getting engineers to take action internally. How are they dealing with some of their shared costs? There's no right way, but a few different ways that companies are going to market on that.
And so tell us a little bit more about what we mean by FinOps and how is WWT thinking about that and how organizations thinking about kind of presenting that or consuming that as a service that organizations like us provide to them.
So, we're really approaching it for clients to help them with some of, their top priorities and optimization challenges from a cost perspective. So what we're seeing in the market today is a lot of companies are having trouble with some of their cost allocation. So, how are they tagging some of their cloud spend today? What does that data hierarchy look like? Really establishing that FinOps culture. So it's a shift in how people think from their day-to-day. So putting on that finance hat, even if you're not in a finance position, to understand, kind of how you're using cloud within your business unit, team, application, and then what are the effects of that within the company from a spend perspective. And really looking at then, resource utilization and right sizing. So making sure that, the scalability of cloud that does offer so much benefits does sometimes get a little complex on how is a company managing that on a day-to-day basis, just to make sure that, they're approaching it from the right size for the needs of the business then. And then looking at forecasting and budget management. So, as they're growing their cloud footprint, for instance, how are they continually looking at that cloud spend and how should they be approaching that in the future?
Well, I imagine that you're obviously working with lots of our clients out in the marketplace on these topics. And, for those listening in, I'm curious if there are sort of themes around the kinds of questions that you hear from clients that sort of signal the need to start thinking about FinOps. What are you hearing in the market?
I think we're hearing, kind of what should we be spending on cloud? Are we spending, too much? How can you help me do an assessment to make sure that, I'm kind of hitting this exactly where I should be as a company? What are the actions that you're taking to drive that visibility within the company today so that, all of the cloud stakeholders, again, are understanding it and you see the effect and impact that their usage of the cloud is having on that, and how can we help them better reduce some of that potential waste there?
And then just building on that a little bit too, are the cloud providers helping with this? Are they really looking for organizations like us to do that with clients, or what's been their involvement so far?
I would say both, Matt. For the most part, this is such a challenging and problem to solve. There's not necessarily a set it and forget it mindset. So it does need to be very much an iterative practice on how companies are approaching it. I would say that all of the major hyperscalers have, publicly come out and said that they are going to be helping their clients from a FinOps perspective and make sure that they're building out, from a cloud native perspective, tooling to help a client understand what they're spending on cloud. But the reality of the situation is it is such a complex issue, and cloud touches so many, various people within an organization that they still do need, people and companies to help them set up some of that governance framework and overall strategy to make sure that they're really set up for success moving forward in their FinOps journey.
All right, so for organizations out there that are really thinking through and kind of being mindful of the need for cloud FinOps and the things we're talking about, what are the top benefits that they're going to see, and how should that move them forward successfully with their business?
Yeah, from a benefit perspective, again, we want to make sure that they are seeing the most value out of their cloud investments. We don't want to have spend that is, I would say, inefficient. So making sure that they are hitting that, perfect cost visibility and getting the most out of their cost ownership from their investment today. And then, making sure as they continue on this path and journey that they're continuing to, kind of drive this in from an operational perspective across the organization to help them really make better decisions and act on opportunities that bring the most value.
And so I'm also curious, how this fits into different life cycles that organizations have around, kind of cost management in general and sort of the cost management that they're looking at for cloud more specifically. So, what are organizations doing on that front?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is, there's really kind of a three-pronged approach to this. So, from an informed perspective, discovering, what and where are the resources to set those initial budgets and create transparency across the board. And then looking at how do they better optimize and operationalize some of that? So, how can they improve? How can they ensure that they're documenting best practices, within one business unit from an operational perspective that they can then expand out to other groups within the organization, and then driving that operational excellence to continue to make a little bit of changes within their cloud environment.
All right, so imagine we've got a client organization that's really thinking about, putting in place, a cloud FinOps practice and collaborating with us or others. What are some of the kind of essential things they need to do there from a people standpoint, technology standpoint, a process standpoint? What advice do you provide in that context?
Yeah. I would say, from an organizational perspective, they really want to make sure that they, are looking at this, again, across various business units. So if they have a cloud center of excellence, typically, they should be involved, but There's also a separate FinOps team that should be really driving some of those, kind of key metrics that they want to have in place to measure success as they continue on this journey, but should be working closely with the CCOE. And then, certainly from a cloud talent and skill set perspective, making sure that the people that are part of this FinOps group have visibility and understanding of the tool set that is in place to start to drive, really that actionable change within an organization.
All right, well, Jenny, I want to ask another question. We got to bring up AI here, right? Because for lots of organizations, the path to artificial intelligence or Gen AI is going to be kind of coming through their cloud providers. And also, as we're talking about kind of the FinOps side of things, I'm thinking two things. Number one, like my costs may go up because we know that AI stuff is computationally intensive. And number two, do I need to kind of get my house in order ahead of that so that we're ready to take on the costs that may come from doing things with AI? So how are organizations thinking about that?
Yeah, I think AI will really play more of a significant role in FinOps models in the future. There are a lot of benefits that they're potentially able to provide. So looking at, advanced predictive analytics, that real-time anomaly detection. So if something, a spend for a specific account goes up, how do you take action on that, pretty much immediately instead of letting it run for a couple of days before that gets, kind of brought up. But you're right, Matt. To your point, AI is also going to drive up the cost of cloud. So making sure that they do have that right governance and visibility in place as they continue to implement that across the organization to make sure that they're just seeing the benefits and their spend is not getting out of control by shifting more to an AI-based model.
All right, well, I want to have a little bit of fun with this one. So I know we're coming into ski season for you out there in Denver. I understand you're a big skier. I think, if I remember correctly, you also do some skiing instruction and teach people that. I'm curious if there are parallels that you see between skiing and teaching people how to ski and sort of teaching people how to be good with the topics we're talking about today in the business world.
I would say there's a lot of correlations that can be drawn there.
Yeah, I bet.
So when you're first starting out skiing, you don't want to immediately be like, all right, I'm going to go on this black diamond. So really making sure that you have, again, kind of the framework you can edge, you understand how to stop, to get that in place as you continue to grow some of your skill set. So making sure that, as you get the basics in place, then you're really tweaking and, you're edging on those turns, you're getting some speed, you're able to control that speed, and then really making that transition to some of those black or double black diamonds.
Yeah, I love it. I like starting out on the kind of the green part of the mountain and then sort of moving your way around to the harder stuff. So that's excellent. All right. Well, so imagine we've got an organization out there that's sort of hearing all of this and thinking, all right, we got to really get started more seriously on that. How do organizations engage with a company like Worldwide Technology to really do this?
Yeah, I would say, certainly reaching out to your account manager, getting an understanding of how we would approach it is really getting an understanding of, where are you on your journey today? So, building out that visibility from our perspective to, help better understand the maturity level of an organization before we really create a plan. We're seeing within the industry, people are at various different parts of their journey. So, some companies are just trying to understand their cloud build today. They're slowly starting to wade into the cloud. And then other companies are, fairly mature and really looking to understand how can they, kind of implement additional best practices on that journey to take them to the next level. So, helping them to understand progress map and evolve, some of the tools and measurements from a visibility across from a granularity perspective. So, how can we help them set up additional goals within the company to really tweak and continue to perfect their FinOps practice today?
Cool. All right, my last question for you, as this continues to evolve in the coming years, you think, 2 years out, 5 years out, is this going to get easier? Is it going to get harder? Will there be automations around all this? Like, what are you excited to see coming up in the future?
Yeah, I think, It's very much a big focus for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, all the way down to, Fortune 2000. So I do see a continued focus of this across the board. Otherwise, though, I would say it's probably going to get a bit more complex as companies are looking at, certainly unit costs. So how should they be approaching not just their cloud costs, but other technology investments that they've made, software asset management, some of just their overall technology investments, and costs of, labor and people that they should be approaching this too. So, certainly the tooling should be getting better. There, is a ton of different cloud native and third-party software solutions that are focused on helping companies to solve this problem. But really looking from, again, best practices of what is best for your business. There's not necessarily one size that fits all for companies. So understanding, kind of where they are today, what are the challenges, what are they trying to solve for? Even from a cost allocation standpoint, there's different ways that companies can manage that today, whether that be show back, charge back, a mixture of both. We want to make sure that we're helping them based on where they are and where the business needs to go.
Excellent. Well, Jenny, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate you being here to share your expertise on this topic. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, and thank you for joining us as well. We've got a great catalog of WWT expert sessions and other events coming up out on wwt.com/events. You'll find all those, back catalog out there as well of things that you can watch on demand. Love to hear your feedback too. So if you've participated here today, you might get a survey from us. Feel free to give us feedback there. Email me, email Jenny, let us know directly. Always great to get feedback from our audience. And that wraps our session for today. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next time.